For decades, this small strip of land on the Baltic coast held a unique place in Russia's story. To Moscow, it was a forward base, a strategic outpost positioned deep inside Europe, a symbol of military reach. But to the people who lived there, it meant something completely different. Kaliningrad was not just another Russian region. It was a window, a place where borders felt lighter, where ideas moved freely, and where everyday life carried a distinctly European rhythm. Residents crossed into neighboring countries as casually as commuting to another city. Weekends meant shopping trips abroad, not state television. Conversations were shaped by both Russian heritage and European influence. It wasn't rebellion in the loud sense. It was quieter than that. A gradual shift in identity, a blending of worlds. And for years, that balance held. Before everything changed before 2022, Kaliningrad felt disconnected from the rest of Russia, not geographically, but culturally. While much of Russia remained inward-looking, Kaliningrad looked outward. Families planned vacations in European capitals. Children grew up exposed to different languages, media, and perspectives. Local businesses thrived on cross-border trade. The region developed its own personality, one that even historians described as neither fully Russian nor fully European, but something in between. This identity created a silent contrast with Moscow's messaging. While the central government framed the West as a rival, Kaliningrad's residents experienced it as a partner. Trade was strong, tourism flourished, and cultural exchange was constant. Even the city's deeper history began to resurface. Some locals started reconnecting with its past when it was known as Königsberg, emphasizing its architectural and intellectual heritage over its Soviet transformation. To Moscow, this was uncomfortable. To locals, it was simply part of who they were becoming. The turning point. Everything changed when the war in Ukraine began. The decision that reshaped global politics also reshaped Kaliningrad's fate. Because of its location, separated from mainland Russia and surrounded by European Union countries, the region suddenly found itself exposed. Borders that once felt invisible became barriers. Trade routes became choke points and movement became restricted. The transformation was not gradual, it was immediate. Borders become walls on paper. Crossings between Kaliningrad and neighboring countries still exist, but reality tells a different story. Security measures tightened, customs inspections became stricter. Travel slowed dramatically. What used to be a short trip across the border turned into hours of waiting, uncertainty, and scrutiny. For residents who once crossed frequently, the change felt like a door slamming shut. Weekend shopping trips disappeared, casual visits became rare, and over time the habit of crossing borders faded entirely. But the impact went far beyond personal travel. The collapse of logistics. The real damage struck the region's economy. Kaliningrad depends heavily on movement, goods coming in, products going out. When that flow is disrupted, everything begins to break down. Transport companies faced new risks. Insurance providers pulled back, labeling the region too unstable. Routes that once ran directly now had to detour around restrictions. Costs rose sharply. What locals began calling an Enclave Tax took hold, a hidden price paid on nearly everything. For truck drivers, the consequences were immediate. Thousands lost their jobs as demand collapsed. And for businesses, the situation grew worse. A system under pressure, factories that once relied on imported components struggled to operate. Supply chains fractured, production slowed, then stopped. One of the region's major manufacturing plants, known for assembling international car brands, became nearly silent. Without parts, there was nothing to build. Small businesses faced similar challenges. Furniture makers couldn't source materials. Food producers struggled with distribution. Construction projects halted entirely. Even basic materials like cement became difficult to obtain. In some cases, shipments were turned back at borders due to sanctions or regulatory disputes. Without those materials, entire sectors froze. A fragile balance breaks. Kaliningrad had always depended on a delicate system. Raw materials from Russia, consumer goods and trade from Europe. That balance no longer exists. With restrictions cutting off both sides, the region is left in a difficult position. Prices have risen, opportunities have shrunk, and uncertainty has become part of daily life. The strategic pressure beyond economics, there is a deeper layer to this crisis. Kaliningrad is not just a region, it is strategically important. Its location gives it military significance. But that same location also makes it vulnerable. Surrounded by countries aligned with Europe and NATO, it sits in a tense geopolitical space. And as relations worsen, pressure increases. Transit routes are monitored more closely, agreements are tested, and every decision carries larger implications. A growing isolation. For the people living there, the impact is clear. Life has become more restricted, opportunities have narrowed, and the sense of connection to the outside world has weakened. What was once Russia's most outward-looking region is becoming one of its most isolated. But the story doesn't end here, because the deeper consequences are only beginning to unfold. As pressure mounted on Kaliningrad, the effects spread beyond trade and travel. They reached into the most essential parts of daily life: energy, employment, and population. The energy dilemma. One of the region's biggest vulnerabilities lies in how it powers itself. For years, Kaliningrad relied on connections that ran through neighboring countries. Fuel, electricity, and resources flowed through these routes, keeping the region stable. But those connections are now under strain. Restrictions and policy changes have disrupted energy transit. Supplies that once moved smoothly are now uncertain. In response, Russia has attempted to adapt. New infrastructure has been introduced. Alternative delivery systems have been developed. But these solutions come with risks. The cost of independence operating independently from larger energy networks is difficult. Large interconnected systems provide stability. They balance supply and demand, they absorb shocks. Without that support, even small disruptions can have major consequences. A single failure could lead to widespread outages. And the cost of maintaining independent systems is significantly higher. Fuel delivered by sea, for example, is far more expensive than pipeline supply. Those costs do not disappear. They are passed on to businesses and residents. Economic strain deepens as energy costs rise, businesses face additional pressure, production becomes more expensive, margins shrink, and some operations become unsustainable. Inflation increases, household expenses grow, and purchasing power declines. The cumulative effect is a slow tightening of the economic environment. The workforce begins to leave. Perhaps the most significant change is happening quietly. People are leaving, not in sudden waves, but steadily. Professionals, young workers, and families are relocating to mainland Russia. They are searching for stability, for opportunity, for a future that feels more certain. This migration is reshaping the region. A shrinking workforce means fewer businesses. Fewer businesses mean fewer jobs, and the cycle continues. A changing demographic. Those who remain face new challenges. Job opportunities are limited. Re-employment can take months. Certain groups are affected more than others. And as the population shifts, the social structure of the region begins to change. This is not just an economic issue. It is a demographic transformation. Identity under pressure. For decades, Kaliningrad's identity was built on openness, on connection, on being different. But isolation changes that. As borders close and opportunities fade, the region's character evolves. The sense of being part of a broader European space weakens, and in its place a more constrained reality emerges. Some residents express frustration, others adapt, but the underlying shift is undeniable. Tourism, a partial lifeline. Tourism once played a major role in Kaliningrad's economy. Foreign visitors brought revenue, diversity, and international attention, but those flows have largely stopped. Travel restrictions and geopolitical tensions have reduced international tourism to almost zero. In its place, domestic tourism has grown. Russian travelers, unable to go abroad, are visiting regions like Kaliningrad instead. This has provided some relief. Hotels are occupied, air traffic has increased. Local businesses see activity, but the benefits are limited. Domestic tourists typically spend less, and they do not bring foreign currency. The overall economic impact is smaller. A fragile recovery. While tourism offers temporary support, it cannot replace what has been lost. The broader economy remains under strain. Trade is restricted, industry is weakened, and long-term growth is uncertain. Future projections suggest modest increases in visitor numbers. But without international access, the sector's full potential cannot be realized. A strategic question. All of this leads to a larger question. What is the future of Kaliningrad? Maintaining the region requires significant resources. Logistics are complex, costs are high, and geopolitical tensions remain unresolved. For decision-makers, this creates a difficult balance. Resources allocated here are resources not used elsewhere, and priorities must be weighed carefully. A region at a crossroads, Kaliningrad stands at a critical point. Its past was defined by openness and connection. Its present is shaped by restriction and adaptation, and its future remains uncertain. Will it stabilize and find a new role? Or will isolation continue to deepen its challenges? Final reflection. What makes Kaliningrad's situation so compelling is not just its strategic importance. It is the human story behind it. A region that once bridged two worlds is now caught between them. A place that symbolized connection is experiencing separation, and a community that looked outward is now turning inward. The outcome is still unfolding. But one thing is clear: Kaliningrad is no longer what it once was, and what it becomes next will depend on forces far beyond its borders.